Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here today to talk about my Victober plans. Or it's me, so I don't really do that much planning of exactly what I'm going to read, but I have a whole host of possibilities and some ideas of where I can go with Victober. So this is my first time doing Victober. I'm brand new to BookTube. I only started my channel in April, so I've never done this before, and I am absolutely thrilled. I think it sounds amazing, and I've been collecting all of these books looking for a reason to finally dive into them, and voila, here it is. I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that the quartet of lovely ladies, that being Kate, Katie, Ange, and also Lucy, have put together. I'll link to their channels below because I think they've done a phenomenal job of putting together a really interesting set of challenges. Some I'll be doing, some I won't. More on that later. But I think it's a great place to start. And I'm going to go a little rogue with this as well, as I want to do. So we'll see how it all comes together. The first up is the challenge that Ange has, and that is to read a book by a Victorian female author, and it's a bonus if this author is new to you. Well, I have been collecting Elizabeth Gaskell's work for a while. So I've got this really lovely penguin cloth-bound edition of Cranford. I also have a Penguin Classics edition of North and South, and a Penguin English Library edition of Wives and Daughters. So I'm going to start with North and South, and I'm doing this as a buddy read. So this is very exciting for me, as it'll finally be able to get into Elizabeth Gaskell, who I've wanted to read for a good long time. The next is to reread a Victorian book, and this was Kate's challenge. Now, because I'm new to this, I think I haven't read that many true Victorian works of literature. If I were to do this challenge, and I don't think I'm going to do this one, I would probably reread Far from the Maddening Crowd, which is Thomas Hardy. I loved this book. I thought this book was so wonderful. I heard Doris rave about it, and I thought, oh, what's that all about? And Gabriel Oakes, oh, what a dreamboat. What a man. So I would reread this, or I would reread Middlemarch. And this is my Folio Society edition copy of it, and it's just glorious, but it's so heavy. It is so heavy. So I don't think I'm going to have time to get to this, because let's face it, I'm probably going to still be reading Ducks into October. So I think Far from the Maddening Crowd and Middlemarch will have to wait for another time. The next up is Katie's, and it's to read a Victorian book that's either under 250 pages or over 500 pages. And this fits in very nicely with my other buddy read that I'm planning, and this will be with Leo of A Little Book Life. If you haven't checked out his channel, please do. I'll link it below. And our friend Amelia. We're going to be reading the Pickwick Papers by Dickens. Now, the reason I wanted to read the Pickwick Papers is that I don't know, I think this was serialized. These were serialized. It's a satirical masterpiece. And I remember when I was in London and I went to the Charles Dickens Museum, you can actually see copies of the Pickwick Papers in his own hand right there on his desk still. And I just thought that was lovely, and I really wanted to eventually get to it. So this was a great opportunity to do so. So that definitely will cover the over 500 pages, because even without the, this is 747 pages. So yeah, quite a hefty tome here. I also have a collection of these little Penguin Black classics. And so I've got Emily Bronte, The Night is Darkened Around Me. I've got Oscar Wilde's Lord Arthur Saville's Crimes. Thomas Hardy, Woman Much Missed. Another Dickens, this is The Great Winglebury Duel. And another Elizabeth Gaskell, The Old Nurse's Story. So I might try to fit a few of these in as well. So I think this is another great opportunity. Then Lucy says to read an underrated Victorian book from the same year as your favorite Victorian classic. I don't think I'm going to do this one either, just because I don't have enough Victorian classics to under my belt, so to speak. And so I think I'll put this one off for a future Victober. And then there's the general suggestion to read by candlelight, at least a little bit, to kind of get the feel for the Victorian experience. And so I might try it here at the desk, just with a little candle. I'm not going to do too much because I'm old and the eyesight isn't what it used to be, so I got to protect the eyes. Then they're also doing 2 group buddy reads as kind of read-alongs, and they picked Oscar Wilde, The Importance of Being Earnest, and Woman of No Importance. And they have the dates that they're going to be reading those. I might join in on that, but we shall see. That one is a TBD. So here's where I'm going to go off the rails a little bit and do my own thing. I have wanted to read Trollope for so long, and so I have two things here. I have The Warden, which is the very first of the Barchester series. So this seems like a good place to start. But I also have The Way We Live Now, which is considered to be his best work. So I'm not sure. Please let me know if you have read these 2. Which should I start? I'll do kind of a poll here. Interested in both, and definitely interested in getting started in reading Trollope. Then I have this book. This is where I'm really going off the rails. So this is not written in the Victorian period, but of the Victorian period. And this is Murder by the Book, the sensational chapter in Victorian crime by Claire Harmon. I got this book, oh my God, when I was last in London. So this just sounds fantastic. It's about a famous murder case and its connections with the writers and literary culture of the day. So I just thought that sounded great, and what better time to read it. Oh, the other thing I want to do is I'd like to read Bellman and Black by Diane Setterfield. So if I have a chance to sneak that in, I know a lot of people are reading that in preparation for the fall, and it sounds like a great book. If not, I'll defer it to November. I'm also going to supplement with audio. So I've got 3 audiobooks already queued up. The first one is The Victorian City, and this is Everyday Life in Dickens London by Judith Flanders. So I thought it would be really nice to listen to some nonfiction about what it was like as a supplement. And then the second one is Victorian Britain, and this is part of the Great Courses series, so I might try to dive in and out of that. It could be interesting. Victoria the Queen by Julia Baird. So what better way to study the Victorian era than studying Victoria herself. And then the last that I've been looking for in audio, but I just don't think exists in audio, is the Ruth Goodman series. I really like some of her series on what life was like in different times. So she has How to Be a Victorian. And so I might dip in and out of that through my library as we go through the month. So that's it. It feels like I have a ton of things to do for Victober. What are you reading? What do you recommend of what I've mentioned? Are any of these really good? Any that you would tell me to absolutely make sure that I hit? So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.